Welcome in, everybody. So glad that you're here. I know we've got a few folks that are here present for our Summer Skill Builder today, and many more who wanted to be here but are going to be viewing this recording later. So if you're watching this recording in the future, hello, glad you're here. Let's start with a couple of introductions. My name is Kelsey Derringer. I'm one of the co-founders here at CodeJoy, and this summer I am teaching 2 different courses for Infosys Pathfinders. I'm doing the Robot Mini Golf for the Classroom, which is all about using the Hummingbird Robotics Kit to do project-based learning. And then I'm also teaching a brand new subject for us here at CodeJoy. This course is called Beyond the Hype: Practical AI for Educators. And so that one's been really exciting to dive into this new topic and also to dive into AI. But I'm not the only on-screen teacher here at the CodeJoy studio, so why don't we all say hello to Amanda Jean. How you doing, Amanda Jean?
Hey, I'm doing great. It's so wonderful to be here with you and all of our CodeJoy friends and everyone visiting. It's nice to have these skill builders on Fridays because it's nice to see what's happening in all the other courses. You know, I'm the director of learning here at CodeJoy, and I'm teaching the Microbit in the Wild course, which is so cool. We've been having a lot of fun doing all these microbit projects, but I like to see what's happening in AI and what happened in the robotics course, because, you know, I want to know all the things. So
awesome. Well, you're going to come up and teach us a lesson from Microbit in the Wild later, yeah?
That's right. Absolutely.
All right. We'll see you back in a bit.
Thanks.
We've also got a couple of other CodeJoy friends hanging out here. We've got Matt Chilbert in the tech booth. How you doing today, Matt?
I'm doing well. Hi, everyone. I'm in the tech booth, so I probably will remain off camera, but I'm here for tech support. And I'm also here to make sure all of our cameras and microphones work. So I'll be monitoring the chat in case anybody has any questions.
A very important job, for sure. We've also got our CTO, Mike Cotterman, joining us as well. Mike, did you want to say hi to everybody from Ohio?
Sure. I don't think there's anybody on from Ohio.
Well, you're in Ohio, so
but I'm in Ohio.
That.
Yeah. I am here just to help out and answer any questions that might come up and make things.
I know you've been making a bunch of LBs for various projects. So if you guys want to hear more from Mike, he's going to have a blog post published about how he's been mass producing LBs in the background.
Hey, I've got twice as many LBs as you do right now, not including the stunt LB.
We got a stunt LB. Oh, man, here we go. Awesome. Well, glad you're here today, Mike. And if anybody wants to know how to make their own LB, you can chat with Mike in the chat. Awesome. Well, let's go ahead and get everything kicked off for today. So now that we know who's here, let's also get settled with some various topics and things. Let's start off with some hashtags here or some social media handles. Feel free as we're going today to tag the Infosys Foundation USA and us, CodeJoy Education, and any pictures or posts that you might make. In fact, I don't feel bad about this at all. We've been kind of taking over Twitter a little bit, which has been kind of cool. Twitter and Instagram and Facebook with all of the posts that people have been making about what they've created throughout their summer learning, which is really cool. But we just want to say a huge thank you to the Infosys Foundation, who has funded this entire summer Pathfinders adventure that we've been on. I believe there are over 1,200 educators participating in Pathfinders this year. So very, very cool. And we're very excited to have about just shy of 500 of those educators enrolled in our courses. So a couple other social media handles that you might want to tag as we're going here. The Microbit Educational Foundations. They are the maker of the Microbit as a tool, and they are always very curious about what you are learning about from other folks like us here at CodeJoy. And then Bird Brain Technologies as well. They're the makers of the Hummingbird Robotics Kit and the Finch Robot. We're doing a Hummingbird course this summer, so if you were in that, feel free to tag them as well. So there you go. We'll also share those with you via a learning resource document in just a moment. In fact, it's about that in just a moment. We'll share that with you. But first, I'd like to know who is here from around the country. So we're going to share a link to a Mentimeter with you here in the chat. We'd love for you to click on that and join us over here on this Mentimeter here. Now, if you haven't used it before, Mentimeter is a pretty cool interactive live presentation software. So I'd love to know, where in the USA do you teach? So you can click on that Mentimeter link there, click on wherever you are in the country and then click submit. And then we'll see all sorts of little dots pop up on our map here. If you have been involved in Pathfinders for a number of years, you might know, or you might remember, that they used to do Pathfinders totally in person, and it would serve a couple hundred teachers. They would come from all over. I remember one year it was in Ohio. Maybe it was there every year. I'm not sure. But it was a great opportunity for, 20 teachers to be in a room for an entire week together and learn in depth on a particular tool. However, you had to travel to Ohio. And Mike's there, so clearly Ohio is cool, but like not everybody could get to Ohio for a full week of learning. So we're really excited that Infosys transitioned this to be an online experience and has kept it as an online experience because the numbers alone, over 1,200 educators learning by and large from their homes, from their dining room tables around the country, is just a really, really cool opportunity for this summer. And in fact, you can see all the different folks that we have tuning in from Washington State, Texas, Iowa, Missouri, Illinois, Pennsylvania. What's that little one up there? I don't know, one of those northeastern states right in the corner up there. Well, we're really, really excited that all of you are here, and we're very excited, as always, about the possibilities of virtual learning, because we can all be together and be learning from your couch, which is pretty cool. All right, I have another question for you, just so we can see who's here. What grades do you teach? And you can select all that apply. Do you teach K2, 3rd through 5th grade, 6th through 8th, 9th through 12th, or primarily other teachers? You can let us know on Mentimeter here. And I think Mentimeter is really cool. I believe they are a Swedish-owned company, and this is just really awesome to see this change live. It's kind of a cool way to interact with each other, even though we're all over. But now we can see that we've got K through 12 educators here and some folks who primarily serve other teachers as well. So as we're going today, feel free to use that chat to let us know how you do this in your classroom, or ask a question that might be particular to your grade or grade range that you teach, because as it turns out, there are other people who might benefit from your answer to that question or the question that you ask. We really try to serve K-12 educators and provide resources so that you are here learning, but that you can bring this back to other teachers as well. So there's no wrong answers, no silly questions here during our skill builder session today. Feel free to participate in that chat. It's kind of like a productive, ongoing side conversation that doesn't distract from the main presentation. So next question for you. What subjects do you teach? Now, this one always interests me, and we were just talking about this with our friend Scott this morning. A lot of schools, they only train the tech or STEAM or CS teachers how to use these tools. And that is a solution to get an entire school up and going quickly so that every kid can have like at least one touch with technology or computer science. And in fact, of these schools that serve 100% of their kids with computer science learning, about 89% of what they call CS 100 schools where 100% of the kids are doing CS, they do that by having one STEAM or tech or CS teacher who serves all the kids. And it seems like we have quite a few of those teachers here. And like I said, that is awesome. But we also really want to show how computer science, robotics, maker education can be used in other topics as well. And I know if you're a tech, STEAM, or CS teacher, chances are you didn't start out as that. You probably used to be a math teacher or a world language teacher or a business teacher or something like that. And chances are you don't keep that to yourself. You're trying to involve other teachers and other subjects in here. So again, as we go throughout the day, let's crowdsource the best ideas we have for bringing these tools and this technology into other subject areas so that kids aren't just getting one CS lesson a year, that they're really getting a lot of deep and meaningful experience, hopefully with a lot of different teachers in a lot of different subject areas. Awesome. Okay, my last question for you here on actually, I have 2 more questions for you. What course are you taking this summer? We're teaching 3 courses. Microbit in the Wild, that is our microbit course that is all about environmental literacy, using the microbit as a tool to do environmental literacy. We're also doing Robot Mini Golf, which is our Hummingbird course. That one's really about project-based learning and about how to do a maker CS robotics project-based learning project. We use mini golf as sort of our unifying theme, but we touch on all sorts of different PBLs. And then finally, practical AI for educators. So let's see who we've got. Looks like we've got a lot of mini golf folks, couple AI folks, a lot of microbit in the wild folks. Excellent. I'm glad we have the whole gang here so that every little piece that we show you today, somebody will be doing something new. The focus of this skill builder series here, and if we could put that Mentimeter back in the chat, we'll put that Mentimeter link in there again for anybody who's just joined. The focus of our skill builder series on Fridays is twofold. One, to just sort of like cross-pollinate between these different courses so that if you were only allowed to sign up for one course, which I know is a sort of sad change this year, but even if you were only allowed to sign up for one course, you can check in and see some of the activities we were doing in the other courses as just kind of a quick survey. But also as a way to kind of like blend some of this learning together, because some of the things we do in microbit in the wild might be useful to you in robot mini golf. Some of the things we're doing in our AI course might be useful to you if you're using microbits. So kind of a way to just get all of our ideas together there. Okay, now we're getting near the end of the summer, so I'm curious, have you started your CodeJoy course this summer? And the options are nope, haven't started yet. There may be some people here who are this is your first touch with CodeJoy, and you're going to be doing the video makeups for your course later on. Maybe you are in progress currently. You've done a session or two of your course, but you haven't finished it yet. Or some of you may have finished, and as we go throughout the summer, that portion of our pie chart is getting bigger and bigger. So, oh, that's exciting. All right, looks like everybody here has at least started their course, though. So you're familiar with some of this material already. That is great to hear. All right. Last question for you here on Mentimeter, we're going quick, is what are your goals for your own summer learning? Now, I noticed that this has responses closed. There we go. All right. So now you should be able to submit responses here, and feel free to reload your page. If it's saying responses are closed, just reload that page. But what are your goals for your own summer learning? I'm curious. Maybe you are looking for stuff for your new makerspace. Or maybe you are just trying to get more comfortable with technology. This doesn't have to just be your CodeJoy course, but just kind of overall. What are your own personal goals for your learning this summer? And maybe Amanda Jean, as I click on some of these, would you read some out?
You got it.
Okay, let's see what we got. How about this one?
More integration of CS and AI in my courses.
I love that word integration because, again, that is our solution, or the solution that we really want to help encourage, is not just doing these things in isolation. Our goal as a company is to de-silo education so that kids are learning all sorts of things in all different classes, that they're seeing why math is relevant in computer science, and why computer science is relevant to social studies, and why social studies is relevant to English. And we want to really cross-pollinate between those things. So I'm glad that you're here looking for integration strategies. That is what we hope to help supply. How about this one?
I'm starting the STEAM class at my school, so I'm trying to gain as much information to help with that as possible.
Yeah, starting a new course is such a big job. As someone who has now designed 3 brand new courses this summer, man, it's a lot of work. And I was only designing 9 hours of live content. So hopefully you find lots of projects that you could take right off the shelf here and use. And hopefully you find some great inspiration for projects that you might want to do as well. How about this one?
Collaboration with the classroom teachers.
Excellent. We're going to share a resource document with you in just a moment here, so that everything that we cover in today's Skill Builder series session will be in that resource document. So for anybody watching this recording, make sure you find the document that's sent in the email to you, and you can check out any of the resources that we're sharing here. How about a couple more? How about this one?
New project ideas to keep my classes current and engaging.
I love that word, engaging. That is one of our big pushes here, is learning is supposed to be fun. And it's supposed to be fun for all sorts of different kids, right? When we think about like the bell curve of the kinds of kids we have in our schools, we really want to make sure that learning is engaging for the kids on the edges, right? The kids who are under-engaged in STEM. We're talking about girls, students of color, students with learning exceptionalities, students from rural areas, and students from low-income areas as well. Those kids, as we all can probably predict, just tend to have less access to STEM. And even when they have access to it, they tend to be less engaged. Quick story, when I was teaching a girls-only STEM club, the first time I tried to introduce robotics, I tried to introduce a particular tool that when you put all the pieces and parts together, it would create a bug. And I was like, all right, girls, when I see you back at after school club on Monday, we're gonna make robot bugs. And they were like, it's like, that wasn't their thing, right? That's not what engaged them. But when I switched the project and I said, all right, girls, when I see you on Monday, we're gonna be making cardboard animals. And you can make any animal you want. They were like, yes. Can I make a bunny? Can I make a unicorn? Can I make a dancing gorilla? Yep, you can make any of those. So engagement matters. And that's one of our big focuses here at CodeJoy as well. How about this one?
Get project ideas for kids and spur on and let out my own creativity through the summer to kick off the year and to brainstorm applications that'll ignite the kids.
All right, you're here for it and we're going to supply it. Let's get into it. All right, everybody, we're going to go ahead and share that resource document with you in the chat here. And this resource document contains everything that we're going to cover today and everything that we've covered at the past Summer Skill Builder series sessions as well. So if you missed any of the past ones, you can catch the recordings on here and links to all of the projects that we share. So let me show you what I mean. Here is our document here, and I'm going to zoom in on it a little bit so you can see kind of an overview of our topics here and our teachers this summer. Here's our agenda. At the top, we have it broken down by date. So you can see that the past recordings of the past sessions are linked here. You can check those out if you missed one. We will be editing this and linking the recording on there sometime next week. So if you happen to click on this like on Saturday, the recording might not be there yet, but just check back in a couple days. And then you can see the topics and projects that we're going to cover today. Next week will be our final Summer Skill Builder series, so hopefully you can join us for that as well as we finish populating out these agendas here. So down here you can learn a little bit more about CodeJoy, and then as you scroll down you'll see that below it's broken out by topic or by course. So there's the Robot Mini Golf course resources, and then there's the Microbit in the Wild resources, etc. So that's kind of how this document is organized. So with that, let's just cover just briefly, what is it that CodeJoy does? Because we do a number of different things, and so we'll tell you about some of them as we go. The big one is professional development, and that's what you guys are here experiencing. So we do professional development for teachers. We are here to try to rethink and reimagine what education can be, and we do that by serving teachers. So professional development, one way that you could engage with us is through big national programs like this Summer Pathfinders Institute put on by the Infosys Foundation USA. However, if you're searching for more ways that you can interact with us, we also do professional development through state departments of education, through regional service organizations. That's like your intermediate unit or your area education agency or your BOCES or whoever it is that you go to when you have to do your bloodborne pathogens training. Those folks, if you'd like to connect us with those folks, we would love to work with them, especially if they already have like a resource library where they've got some microbits or hummingbird kits, and they're just trying to get more teachers to check those out. That's something that we're really good at. So national organizations, state organizations, regional organizations, and then we also work with school districts as well. So if you're trying to think about how you could spice up your professional development this year, how you could serve teachers in the same building or across buildings or even across an entire district, we're here to help with that. So you don't have to do it by yourself when you're thinking about how to serve your fellow teachers. We're here to help you with that. So if you have any questions or would like to brainstorm about how to do that, feel free to reach out to us through our website or through hello@codejoy.org. We can always set up a meeting and talk about it. But let's get into our first sessions, our first project today. So I'm going to invite up Amanda Jean, and she is going to take you through some microbit activities. So thank you, Paige. Paige says, shout out to CodeJoy for supporting CSTA and CSTA New Jersey. Thanks. We are really excited to be supporting various CSTA organizations throughout the country. But I'll go ahead and hand it over to you, Amanda Jean.
Great. Sounds good. Thanks, Kelsey. All right. Hi, everyone. It's wonderful to see you all here today. My name is Amanda Jean Strode, and I'm the Director of Learning at CodeJoy, but I also am the lead teacher for Microbit in the Wild, which we've really been enjoying our time doing all of these great projects. Now, the primary tool for our course that we've been using is the Microbit. So I'm going to switch some things out here. Great. And take a look here. And let's take a look at this tool so we can introduce any of our friends who maybe haven't used a Microbit before. There we go. All right, so the Microbit, one of my favorite classroom tools, is a pocket-sized computer, right? And it's referred to by that in that way for a lot of good reasons. It has a lot of the same things inside of it that your computer does as well. So it has a processor and memory, but the Microbit also has some more interactive components, like it has buttons and an LED screen and other sensors like an accelerometer or a magnetometer. And we'll get to see some of those in action today, which will be really, really fun. Now, in our course, Microbit in the Wild, this week, we have been focusing on, in session C, how to level up your Microbit, right? We've been learning a lot of the basics and leveling up our use of all the different sensors inside of that Microbit. But the goal here is, okay, how do you extend it beyond itself or do something a little bit more complex? So one of the activities that we did this week was we coded an I Spy game, which we'll get to play with all of you today. But before we play that game, I wanted to show you all how we were going to code it and how it works. And the primary way in which this code works is actually pretty cool. It's using the function on the Microbit called radio broadcasting. So take a look back here. I need to have 2 microbits in order to use the radio function. Yeah, Carrie, I'm so glad you've enjoyed it. It's been a lot of fun to play. So we've got microbit number 1 and microbit number 2. And right now, I just have these microbits set up with a really basic radio code just to showcase how it works. So let me plug these in and give you an idea of how these microbits use radio. Now, the way the microbits use radio is actually a lot like the way walkie-talkies work. So if you have walkie-talkies at your school, for example, like I know my school use walkie-talkies for bus duty, then you know that they talk to each other over a channel. Well, these ones kind of do the same thing. They're on the same channel and they're going to talk to each other. If I hit the A button, one microbit sends a smiley to the other, and then vice versa. If I hit my A button on microbit number 2, it'll send a smiley face back. So they can send signals from one microbit to the other one. Now we're going to take this code and level it up a little bit and make it an I Spy game utilizing some other cool components inside the microbit, particularly the magnetometer. So the magnetometer is a sensor inside your microbit that uses basically a compass, right? And the compass feature of that magnetometer is what allows us to send the direction that we're looking from one microbit to the other, so I can show my friend exactly where I'm looking. And that's our ultimate goal here in our code. So we're going to go get ourselves started and make code. I'm actually going to start off here on our resource document. And in our resource document, I'm going to scroll down to find our section. There we go. Today's July 26th. And I'm going to start off with a simple code, and then we're going to revamp it to be our I Spy game as we go. All right. So this simple code is send a smile. It's the one that I had the simple demo for. And this is great because it just demonstrates some of the ideas of how the radio works and what kind of blocks you might be using. There's a whole category for radio and all of the different functions that it utilizes inside of make code. And here I have 3 coding blocks. The very first one, this on start loop, is doing a very important job of setting my radio group. Now, in terms of like how you do this in a classroom, this is your most important block because the radio group is the channel that your microbits talk on. So if everyone in the room is on the same channel, so I'd say maybe like I'm in group 1, right? Then everyone's going to get those messages. But if you wanted lots of different students to be doing this at the same time and each group should be on their own channel, you would give each group their own group number. And that way each group would be sending their own messages and not getting them twisted up in your classroom space. The second part of this code here is using an input, using the A button, and it's sending the radio signal, right? So that radio signal I'm sending here is in number format or number data. And you can send all kinds of information if you want. If I take a look here in the radio category, there's sending numbers, right? There's also sending values. Those values could be lots of things. For example, Boolean data, which is true, false information. You also can send strings. So I could send words like, hi, Kelsey, and Kelsey could receive that across the room on her microbit, and I could send messages back and forth. Very cool, very fun. In this case, our code is set up to send number data, which will work out really well for us when we change things with our compass. The last block that I have in this simple radio code is that my radio is being received. My information is coming into my microbit. And in this case, it's receiving number data, right? Because remember, I'm sending the number data. I have to receive the same type of data so that my microbits can talk across those channels properly. All right, well, this is a great code and it's very simple, but this will not get us to our game. We need to do some changing and adjustments. So we're going to take this code and revamp it just a little bit. In our revamp, we're going to leave the onStart loop exactly as it is, which is great. But I'm going to go here into my input, my on button A pressed, and I'm going to make a couple of changes and send some different things to my buddy. So first, I don't want to just send a number. I want to send my compass heading. I want to send the direction that I'm pointing to my friends so that they can see where I'm pointing to. So we're going to go into our inputs category and scroll down and grab this sensor block. This is the compass heading block. Now, MakeCode is great for so many reasons. It's definitely color coded. You know, you can tell in each of your categories here, they have their own color, but it's also shape coded, which is really nice. So I know that this block, this compass heading block, which is round and oval shaped, it'll fit in a round oval shaped spot. So if I pull out that compass heading and I want to send the number of my compass heading, it actually fits in the spot where that 1 is currently sitting because it's the right shape. Great. So now I'll send that compass heading. That's fantastic. I'm going to leave my show icon in here inside of this loop because it's an output that just helps me know that I've sent my code. But not only do I want the visual output, I also want an auditory output so that I know that what I've sent and I know what I've done on my microbit for my friend. So we're going to go and grab a music block to add in here. And I actually today want to use a very specific one. Now, if you've played with MakeCode at all before, you know you could use any of these music blocks really to make a noise is the ultimate goal. But I really love this block, the play melody da-da-dum. Now, this da-da-dum is really just signaling a pre-done melody. You know, they made some music for you so that you don't have to make it on your own. I'm going to pull this play melody block out and stick it in here after I send my compass heading. And I can scroll down and see, I could pick any song I want. A lot of these songs are songs that you all know really well. For example, the birthday song. I don't know anybody who doesn't know the birthday song, right? I think we all could sing it in our heads right now. You have an idea. But I'm going to choose specifically the, let's say, powered down melody, because it'll have like a video game feel to my I Spy game that we're going to play. Great. Now this code is all set up to send my compass heading and give me 2 outputs to know that I have in fact sent my compass heading successfully. I've got my auditory and my visual output. Now I need to vamp up my receiving. So let's jump over here to this block. Great. I'm going to receive a number. And I don't want to just receive a number and get a smiley face. I want to receive my compass heading from my friend. So we're going to make a few adjustments here. I'll keep my clear screen block exactly as is, but I don't need the show icon block anymore. Oh, Roseanne. My dog is here today, friends. You can say hi to Roseanne in the chat. Maybe you'll get to see her on the behind the scenes camera when we get to that point later on. All right, so we need to show our compass heading when our friend sends it to us. So I'm going to go in here and grab a basic block, the very first one, show number. Now this block is handy in particular because we're using number data in this particular code. So showing a number is what I want to do. And I don't want to show any old number. I want to show the number that is being sent to me. So in order to do that, inside this radio received block, I'm sure you notice that it's pink, but it's also red. Well, this little red part here is actually a block of its own. It's receiving the number from the code that's being sent to me. So I pull the received number out of the block that I already have. Kind of interesting how that works. And I'm going to stick that into my show number, and now I will receive my compass heading that my friend sends me. Now, the way that it's currently coded, it would show me the number once, and that's okay if you're really paying attention, but especially in a classroom, I don't know who's really paying attention that hard all the time. So maybe I want it to show my number more than once. So if I go here and I grab a loop from the green loops category, I can use this loop to repeat my number more than once. So I'll pull that out, and when I do, it should chomp right onto my show number block for me. And you can have this repeat as many times as you want. It's totally up to you. I'm going to choose 3. I think that will do the trick for me. But if you know you need to see it more, you could change it to a higher number. You could do 5 or 6, whatever floats your boat. I'm going to put my clear screen back into this code. So that way, when I receive the number 3 times, it will go across my screen, and then it will clear the screen so that I could receive a new message if I wanted to, or if my friend sent me one. But the last ticket here is I kind of need an output, right? I know that the numbers are going to scroll across my screen, but if my friend sends me those numbers and I'm not paying attention, maybe having an auditory output would signal me to pay attention and look at my microbit. So we'll go back to our music category here, and I'm going to choose that same exact block I used before, the playing the melody, those pre-programmed ones, because I like them. They're simple and they do the trick. And I'll stick this in the beginning of my code. So the first thing will happen when I receive my signal is a melody, a musical note will be played. And I'm going to select for this one the power up. So I've got power down and power up, which gives me like a nice video game feel to my I Spy playing today. All right. Now our code's almost done, right? I've got my sending on the left-hand side. I've got my receiving on the right-hand side, and that's great. But I need just one more fail-safe to know that I know the number I'm sending to my friend before I send it to them. So let's grab another input block. Same one I already have on the button A pressed. When I pull this block out, it's going to gray the block out because, well, I already used the A button. So let's just switch it out. I'll pull this menu down and I'll choose the B button. And now things are good and ready to go. And here I want to show myself my compass heading. So I'll go into my basic category and show myself the number. And I don't want just any old number. I want the number of my sensor, of the magnetometer. So let's open up the inputs and grab the show the compass heading block. All right. Once I grab that and stick it in there, now when I press the B button, I show myself my number first, and then I can go and press that A button and send it to my friend to play our game. All right. Now, when you go to download this onto your microbits, one note is that when you're using a magnetometer, you got to make sure that you're ready to calibrate your compass. All right. So I'm going to download this onto one of my microbits to show you what's going to happen. I'm going to go ahead and plug one in. I've got microbit number 1 to start off with. And when I go to download onto microbit number 1. I'm already connected. I'm going to hit download. It's going to download that code onto my microbit. And if I press the A button, it will probably scroll across the screen, tilt to fill the screen. That means that you're calibrating the magnetometer sensor. You're having the sensor know where the center of the Earth is, getting it all set up, and then it will start scrolling those numbers across. Right? Now you would download this code onto both of your microbits. So I downloaded onto number 1, then I would unplug and replug into microbit number 2, and I would get that code downloaded onto there too, so that they both have the sending and receiving capabilities. right? Now from here, once I have all my codes downloaded, it's almost time to play. And I think if we want to see what this looks like and how it works. So we have like a fun little crafty way that we like to play with this here. If you have paper towel or toilet paper tubes hanging around, and I'll be honest, I don't think I've ever met an elementary school, at least, that doesn't have these in copious amounts, but great tools to have if you don't have a collection of them already. Then I can actually stick my microbit onto one of these to make a telescope. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and use microbit number 1, and I'll get some tape. Just got some simple masking tape kind of ready to go. And I'm going to tape my microbit to my toilet paper tube so that it can still see the LED screen. And then I'll tape my battery pack onto the other side. Great. All right, now I've got a telescope that I can use, and I would look around for something cool, right? Okay. And then I'd check with my B button. Okay. It's in that direction. I've got like, 198. And then I'd press the A to send that to my friend so that they could play the game with me. And I think that Kelsey is ready to play this game with me. Kelsey, are you ready?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, let's check in on Kelsey. Oh, there you are. Kelsey, you ready to play I Spy? Oh, fantastic. All right, you want to come over here? Oh, Roseanne. Roseanne's ready too.
Roseanne's ready too.
That's right. We're going to play I Spy, lady.
All right, so let me focus on you, not the toilet paper tube.
Yeah.
There you are. The iPad really likes the toilet paper tube and it thinks you're okay.
Okay, well, the toilet paper tube's pretty amazing, and it might be a little bit more versatile than I actually am.
That's not true at all. Okay, so the way we're going to play is I've got my microbit here with the same code on it that Amanda Jean has, and I'm going to go find something interesting. Ooh, okay. I'm going to focus this up here, see if you can see what I see over here. All right, so there's something interesting over here. Do you guys see something interesting? So now I'm going to point my microbit over there, and it's going to read a number across. It read this number across. Okay, so that's the compass heading where my microbit is pointing. And now, if I want to send that to my friend Amanda Jean, I'm going to hit this button. Did you receive something, Amanda Jean?
I did. My microbit made noise,
right.
and now I'm
Go
seeing
stand
my
where
number.
I stood.
Okay, you're
And
right
now,
here.
are you getting a number? What are you getting?
186.
Okay, so now she's going to press her B button. She's going to point that around various
Okay,
places.
let's try this
She's going to press the
direction.
B button until she can find 186.
Got 150. That's not too bad. What about over here? 195. Okay, so somewhere in the middle there. 206. No, not quite. Let's get it flatter to the ground. 202. Okay. I think that's as close as I'm going to get. I got that 150 and that 190. So it's got to be in here somewhere. All right, I'm looking over there in that direction. Oh, Kelsey, were you looking at all the plants on the table over there?
Why, yes, I was, Amanda Jean. How amazing that your microbit helped you find it.
That is awesome. Thanks so much for playing, Kelsey.
Awesome. And there was one question that came in the chat. Somebody was saying, what do those numbers mean? So I wonder, we've got that compass rose on there. Do you want to show them what those mean?
I would love to. Let's take a look at that. Absolutely. So I'll take you back to our main screen here. So the compass on your microbit, we know sort of how it works. It's trying to find the center of the earth, and it shows you a direction, but it works via, let's see what number I'm clicking on. There we go. A compass rose. All right. So I think that we all are generally aware that compass rose has cardinal directions like north, east, south, and west. And your microbit is going to send you a number that corresponds with those compass headings. So if I was pointing north, then I would see 0 degrees. If I was pointing south, then it would be 180 degrees. And, everything in between. So when I'm seeing those numbers scroll across my telescope, my microbit telescope, and I point, and I've got here 51, that means the direction I'm pointing is just about northeast, right? That's how that one works. Now this hopefully is a lot of fun, maybe something you want to try with your students. The link for our compass code, our I Spy code, is on your resource document. So if you look here, I put the simple radio code for Send a Smile, and you also have the code that will show you how you can do this on your own with your students. All right. We really enjoy playing that game here in the studio. Now, in my course, we did this game this week, and I wanted to check in with all of you and ask you, what do you think about that game of I Spy and using the compass as a way of sending messages back and forth? What did you think? And knowing how the radio works, what other things do you want to do with radio? Go ahead and write those ideas in the chat. Let's hear from all of you. All right, Maria says, I love it. I love it too, Maria. We've been having a lot of fun playing this I Spy game, let me tell you. It's been quite the time here at CodeJoy, all week long running around with these things. Melissa said, so fun. Let's see, what do you think of the I Spy? Moving some stuff out of the way while we're at it. Scott said, sending messages via Morse code or some other code that students create, that would be really fun. Whether, Morse code is something that you could teach in your classroom, that'd be really fun. But I love the idea of kids making their own codes to send back and forth. That just sounds particularly interesting. Let's see what else we're thinking here. You could use that for a lesson regarding encryption, said Scott. Oh, that's pretty cool. Scott's always got the interesting ideas. Becky said, very creative use of the compass. Thanks, Becky. We thought so too. There's a lot of sensors built into the microbit. And of course, you want to start simple, just like what is a sensor and how does it work? But it's extra fun to take it to that next level, right? And see, well, what could we do with that sensor? How could we extend our learning a little bit further or get more interactive? And that was the whole idea of our session C of Microbit in the Wild this past week. Well, we sent you a link there to more radio projects and other things you could do with radio in the chat. And I think that it's time to showcase some other things that we do here at CodeJoy. We, of course, play fun games and do professional development, but we do some other things too, like selling hardware. So if you were interested in getting those microbits for your classroom, okay, then we actually do sell microbits. That's one of the things that we have available for all of you from CodeJoy. Now, microbit's not the only thing that you can get from us. We have a bunch of other product partners that we have great relationships with and we do professional development for. And those include some of our tools from Bird Brain Technologies. We have a couple of them here. The first of those tools, there we go, is the Finch robot. The Finch robot uses the microbit as its brain, and it's a robot you can program with many different languages. It's a lot of fun. It's also got a spot here for a marker to go through so you could draw, and a place where you can put Legos on it. So it's a really versatile robotics tool that can go all the way from K to 12. Very fun one. To go with that, we have our Hummingbird kit from Bird Brain Technologies, and the Hummingbird kit is all about creative robotics. So we have the microbit as the brain, the Hummingbird itself as a breakout board, and you can plug all sorts of things into your Hummingbird, like sensors to have inputs and outputs like LEDs and different types of servos to get motion. And then using all of those different components, you can actually create anything you want, including things like we have here on our screen. We've got Sir Hootington. It's our little owl, his head turns and his eyes are on. We've got our hand where the fingers move around. So there's a lot of ways you could use these types of tools. Now, for especially those of you who are super familiar with us and what we do, we've been doing things with Microbit and BirdBrain for a while, but we have some new friends. We're really excited to share all of these newer things with all of you. And let's see, we've got a new partnership coming up here with this tool called the Makey Makey. All right. Now, Makey Makey is a circuitry tool. It allows you to connect to anything you want and turn it into a circuit. So you could make a banana piano, or you could make an interactive board game. Really fun. If you've used the Makey Makey before, go ahead and write in the chat. Tell us what you like about it. That's one of our new product partners. We'll be starting professional development with them and being able to sell the whole suite of Joy Labs products in the fall. We got lots of things coming in. People are really loving that. Paige said, we've tried that too. It's a great tool. I'm so glad you think so, Paige. We're really excited to start working with Makey Makey. All right, now that's not it. We got some other cool stuff going here too. we are starting a relationship and a good friendship with Chibitronics. Chibitronics is all about circuits and making. So much fun. They're really present in the maker community in particular. If you are familiar with, people even outside of education who love to make things, really love Chibitronics too, but they're really fun in classrooms. They come with all of these little bits and pieces, and they come with these great instruction manuals so that you can learn how to build all sorts of circuits with all of these different components, switches and conductive tape and all of these LEDs, all kinds of fun things. If you are familiar with Chibitronics, go ahead and share in the chat what you like about them, what you've done with any of their products, because we would love to hear from you. We're really excited to be getting things going with them this fall as well. All right, what else we got here? Now, this is still not it. Man, we got a lot of product partners coming up this fall. One more product partner that we have a new relationship with is Cubelets. Cubelets are really cool. They are an interactive sort of robotics and coding experience that's meant to be screenless, right? So if kids being on screens is maybe something that you think about, how much screen time do they need, or how much screen time do I want to have in my classroom? Cubelets are designed to be like a coding and robotics experience without that screen. And you have all these cubes that do really cool different things. If you're a fan of Cubelets, then let us know in the chat. Have you seen these? Have you played with them? We really are big fans, and we're excited to bring them on in the fall as well. All right, let's see here. Okay, well, friends, I think that we've done all the things that I needed to do here. We've taken a look at the microbit. We've taken a look at a bunch of other cool stuff that we're get to play with and get to know in the fall. And it's time to play with one of those tools more specifically. The microbit in the wild course is one of our courses this summer, but we also had a course with Kelsey, Robot Mini Golf, where we played with the Hummingbird kits. So she's going to come up and tell us a little bit more about those kits and what those people did with them in their course. Great.
Awesome. Thanks,
Kelsey.
Jean. Saw lots of love for the Compass I Spy activity coming into the chat. So awesome stuff. Just responding to a couple of things in the chat. There's a lot of love for Makey and Chibitronics out there. So we're excited to be partnering with them. We only partner with tools that we genuinely like. And we also only partner with teams that we genuinely like. So it sounds like at least one person is going to be tuning into the Chibitronics training that's happening later on in August. And Amanda Jean's going to be tuning into that one as well to kind of learn how they teach their tool so that we are even better at teaching it when we start, probably in September. So if your school has Chibitronics paper circuits, Makeys, whatever it is, and if you're looking for a little bit of training, especially if you're like, I feel like all my 4th grade teachers should know how to use this, let us know. We can help you out with that. Oh, Becky says, I took that course last summer. Oh, that sounds awesome. They're such nice people at Chibi, aren't they? They're awesome. Okay, so let's get into our robot mini golf course. What did we do and what was it about? So we were using the Hummingbird robotics kit to create and talk about not just a robot mini golf course. That was kind of like our entrance into talking about the Hummingbird kit and project-based learning. But really, we were trying to talk about project-based learning broadly. What is project-based learning and how can we do it more effectively in our classrooms? But as an overview of what the Hummingbird kit is, for those of you who may not be familiar, the Hummingbird kit is a robot, just like the microbit is a robot. Now, the microbit by itself can sense, think, and act. The microbit has buttons as a form of input. And I'm going to focus up my camera here real quick. Let's see. There we go. Okay. So the microbit has buttons and the compass as a form of input. And then as an output, it's got LEDs and some sound, which you just saw us use both of those. But if you want to try to attach motors or color changing LEDs or additional sensors onto it, it can be a little bit challenging. So that's where the Hummingbird kit comes in. So I've got this rearranged now. I've got a little Sense, Think, Act board that I've made for the project that I'm going to show you today. So the Hummingbird robotics kit, it's got a bunch of different sensors like light sensors, distance, sound, and dial sensors that you can plug into it. It's also got a number of different outputs inputs like single color LEDs, green, yellow, red, and tricolor LEDs as well that can change to any color, plus different types of motors that can spin, turn, go to different angles, things like that. So I'm going to show you one of the projects that we did and one of the main projects that we did throughout the course of our project-based learning. So as I mentioned, the course itself was called Robot Mini Golf. And so the project that we made, or one of the projects that we had teachers make, was they had to make their own robot mini golf obstacle. So as an example, I have one set up over here. Let's take a closer look at it. So right over here, we've got LB. He's sort of looking around in a mildly confused manner, but that's just how LB does. So over here, we've got our mini golf obstacle over here on our little mini golf. And so you can see this one's sort of a more advanced version of the windmill that we showed off a couple weeks ago. So this windmill here, it's got a spinning component. That is a rotation servo. But then if I just unplug my rotation servo for a moment to stop it, you might see that it's also got an LED. And over here, you might not be able to see it, but it's got a light sensor over here. And so last week, about the Feedable Robot project, which also used an LED and a light sensor to trigger something. Now, in this case, when the golf ball, and I'm going to throw a golf ball down there, when the golf ball goes in the hole, it triggers a little celebration. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1. Ta-da! There are some little flags that pop out there behind the windmill. And that is what we had teachers do as well. Their project was they had to create some kind of an obstacle, and it could be anything. It had to block and unblock a hole. It had to have some kind of a sensor built into it, either a light sensor with an LED, or some folks used a distance sensor. And that way it could sense when the ball went in the hole, and then it had to celebrate somehow. And teachers came up with so many creative iterations of this project. And I'll show you some teacher creations in just a moment. But first, I thought we'd show you how we programmed this particular project. So I have got my Hummingbird over here set up with a little Sense, Think, Act board of its own. So for this particular project, I was going to need a light sensor as the input, which was going to shine directly at an LED, which is technically an output, although these two would be working together to kind of hang out inside that hole there so that when the golf ball got in between the LED and the light sensor, that it would trigger something to work. Now the rotation servo, that was the spinning part of it, although teachers could use rotation servos, position servos, whatever they wanted. And then my position servos down here, that was the little flags that popped out. So let me show you how I programmed this particular robot. So I am using Snap as our programming language, and I've already gotten my robot hooked up to Snap here. So whenever you're coding a robot, I always recommend just pull out all the blocks for all of the components that you're going to need. Just make sure they all work. So first, let me just get out all the components that I'm going to need. So I'm going to start with my rotation servo, and I've got 2 position servos built in here. Now, if I take a look at my kit here, I've got everything kind of hooked up on the back. If I turn this upside down, you'll see it for a moment. I've just got some holes poked in some cardboard as a way to just kind of clean this up, and then I use some toilet paper tubes to make some feet to elevate it off the table a little bit there. But I know that my rotation servo is plugged in to port 1, so I'm going to leave that at port 1 right here. And then I've got a position servo plugged into port 2 and another position servo plugged into port 3. Now, when I'm saying ports, I'm meaning the places on the Hummingbird kit that it's plugged in. Take a look right here. Motor port 1 is right here. Then there's port 2 and port 3. Ta-da! Okay, I'll zoom back out here and refocus. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to make sure that my rotation servo and my 2 position servos are working. I'm going to set my rotation servo to just 10% speed, just again to make sure that's working. I'm going to click on it. And look at that, it is working, excellent. And then I'll set my position servos, I'll set them to 90% or 90 degrees. Well, they're already at 90 degrees, so tell you what, I'm gonna duplicate these 2. I'm gonna set them to 0 degrees instead. And now when I click on it, There you go. They went over to 0 degrees, which is all the way over here. 90 degrees is straight up and down. And just to check and make sure that I've got them, that they're fully working, maybe I will also set them to 180 degrees and 180 degrees, just to make sure they're fully working. There they are. 180's over there, 90's in the middle. Awesome. I'm going to go ahead and leave them at 90 degrees for now. Get rid of these other two. But yes, my rotation servo and my position servos are working. I also want to make sure that my LED works as well. So let me go to the looks category here and pull out my LED. Now I'm going to have that be on at full blast here, 100%. Let's check and make sure it works. Bing. There it is. My LED turns on. Awesome. That totally works as well. And then finally, I need to check and make sure that my light sensor is working. And this is one of the reasons that I really like using Snap as the coding language for the Hummingbird kit. Now, the coding language that Amanda Jean used was called MakeCode. That's from Microsoft, and that's an awesome coding language. We really love it. And the Hummingbird works with MakeCode as well. So if you, let's say, started your students working with a microbit and then they were ready for more, they could use MakeCode the whole way. However, MakeCode, the way that works is that you create the code on the screen and then you download it to your device. So the information kind of only goes one way. Build it on your screen, put it on the device. The information, there is a way to do that using serial data, but it's a little bit more challenging. Generally speaking, the information doesn't go back from the device to the computer, but it does with Snap. Snap is a Bluetooth coding language, so it has an active connection between the computer and the device. So I'm using Snap to program this robot today. However, all the robots that are behind me back here, these were all programmed in MakeCode. We created the code, downloaded it, and then these don't have to be connected to a computer to run. They just run the code on the microbit. But when you have that Bluetooth connection, you can do this. So I'm going to go to my sensing category here. I'm going to pull out my Hummingbird sensor block here. Now there's all sorts of different sensors I could choose: distance, dial, light, or sound, but I've got a light sensor plugged in, and it's plugged into port 1. Now when I click on this block, you'll see this little itty bitty dialog box that pops up. It says 91. The light sensor can sense light levels from 0, which is total darkness, to 100, which is the maximum brightness that it can perceive. And so right now, because I'm in a TV studio surrounded by like a bajillion lights, it's reading 91% brightness. However, if I cover this up with my hand like this and click it again, now it says 0. Or if I raise my hand up a little bit, now it's saying 9. I'm going to keep clicking it as I move my hand around. It's sensing how much light is getting to it or not. So it's not sensing how close or far I am. It's sensing how much light is getting to it. So let me show you. I'm going to kind of move my hand off to the side, but shadow it. And now it's sensing 19% brightness. But when I move that shadow out of the way, now it's at 91 because I have a big bright light right there that's shining directly at it. So that is one of my favorite reasons to use a Bluetooth coding language with the Hummingbird kit, because you get that instantaneous feedback about what your sensors are doing, which is pretty cool. So that's all the components that I'm going to need to create this program. Let's go ahead and create the program. So if I were going to describe what I want to happen, when the light sensor, when something blocks the light from getting to the light sensor, so when the light sensor number is low, I want the position servos to pop out to 0 degrees for 5 seconds and then go back to 90 degrees. So they're going to stay straight up and down like this. They're going to stay straight up and down until something blocks the light from getting to the light sensor. And then they're going to pop out to the side for a little amount of time, and then they're going to go back. Now, the LED is just going to be on the whole time because the LED shines right at the light sensor. And the rotation servo is also just going to be spinning the whole time because it's supposed to block and unblock the hole, right? So this is going to be on, that's going to be on, and the sensor is going to really just affect these position servos here. So let's create that code. Now I've got the outputs that I'm going to need. Now I'm going to go to the gold control blocks. I often describe the gold control blocks as not controlling any one input or output, but the control blocks control how these blocks talk to each other. So I'm going to start out with an event block. The event block has this like swoopy shape on the top. And I'll point out, I'm using a different coding language here. but it looks a lot like make code, right? Like the shapes are super similar. And in fact, make code has these little puzzle piece things. It's got round spaces and round blocks in it. You might notice that this sensor block is round, right? Shape matters in block-based coding. And I really love that even with different coding languages, there's a lot of consistency between them. So yay for teaching in a time when the industry has settled on how this is kind of going to look. Okay, so I'm going to start this whole code working by pressing my space bar, and then I'm going to grab a forever loop. Now, anytime you're using any kind of a sensor, you're probably going to want to use a forever loop so that it's always checking that data. I want it to be always saying, is something blocking the light sensor? No? Okay. Is something blocking the light sensor? No? Okay. Is something blocking it? Right? I always want it to be checking that. So using a forever loop is a great place to start. And whenever you're troubleshooting something with a sensor, that's always the first thing I look for. Do you have a forever loop? Okay. Next, you might have heard me using the word like if something is blocking the light sensor. The fact that I'm using the word if might trigger you to believe that we are going to use a conditional statement. So that's because we are. I'm going to go grab this one that says if else. There's a number of different ways I could set this up, but I'm going to grab this if else conditional statement, and I'm going to put that inside my forever loop. So this conditional statement, the way this is going to work is if something is true, one thing is going to happen. And if that thing is false, another thing is going to happen. So this if statement is looking for Boolean data. Boolean data is true or false, yes or no, 1 or 0, on or off. You get it, right? There's only 2 options. So we're going to need that. So those are most of the control blocks that we're going to need. But now I'm going to start adding in my, my inputs and outputs here. So first, I said that the LED and the rotation servo, we're just going to be on constantly. So I'm going to set my LED to 100% and my rotation servo to 10% right away. Right when the code starts, those are just going to go. And that's all that they're going to do. I'm not going to use those blocks anywhere else. Now I'm left with just my light sensor and my position servos. So I'm going to actually start with my position servos. So the thing that's going to happen, the condition that we're going to look for in this if statement is going to be if the light is blocked. But I'm going to come back to that. So I'll come back to that. If the light is blocked, what did I want those servos to do? I wanted those servos to go to 0 degrees, 0 and 0, so that the flags pop out, and then it's going to stay there for like 5 seconds or so. So I'm going to go grab a wait block. So it's going to stay there for about 5 seconds. And then if there's nothing blocking the light anymore, I want those position servos to go back to straight up and down, which was 90 degrees. So I'm going to just duplicate those blocks, although I don't need that wait block, and I'm going to set it back to 90. So to describe this, if something is blocking the light, those position servos are going to pop out to 0 degrees and they're going to stay there for 5 seconds. And then it's going to check again to see if anything's blocking the light. And if it's not, they're going to go back to 90 degrees. So now the last piece that we need to fill in has to do with this light sensor here. And I want to point out the shape of the block and the shape of the space we're trying to fit it in. So this light sensor, it's the wrong shape. The light sensor is round on the edges, and the space next to this if is pointy on the edges. Now, technically, Snap will let me put that in there if I want to, but I shouldn't do that. It's the wrong shape because it's the wrong type of data. Our light sensor, when I click on that, what does it return? What does it spit out? It spits out number data, just like the compass did. It's sending us a number, but this if statement is looking for Boolean data, true, false data. So we have to transform our number data into true, false data, and we're going to do that with just the tiniest bit of math. We're going to go into our green operators blocks and see if you can find something that's the right shape. We're looking for something that's pointy on the edges. Any of these blocks pointy on the edges? Boop, 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 boop. Hey, there's one. Okay, so that's the block we're going to grab. It says less than. We could grab less than, greater than, equal to. We're going to compare our light sensor number to a threshold. So I'm going to take our light sensor block here and just drop it in that first spot there. So our light sensor block is going to generate a number for us. And then in this second spot, we're going to compare the number we get from our light sensor to a threshold. Now, a threshold is an invisible line. If we were going to compare this to like the automatic doors at Target, they have a physical threshold. There's a line that when you cross that line, the automatic doors open, right? Same thing here, except instead of a physical line, this is an amount of brightness. So I need to take a look and see what my light sensor is sensing here. So if I click on it, if it's bright, if it's like this, it's showing in the 90s pretty consistently. But if I shadow it a little bit, what's it reading now? It's reading in the 20s maybe? So I'm going to set my threshold a little bit above the 20s. I'm going to say if my light sensor is less than 30, that's going to be my threshold. That's going to mean that something is blocking the light. And now that I've got a statement that can either be true or false, and I can even check this. Right now, is my light sensor less than 30? If I click on it, it says false, because no, my light sensor is in the 90s. But if I shadow it and click it again, now it says true. Yes, my light sensor is less than 30. So now that this is a true-false statement, I can bring it up and pop it into my conditional statement there. And now my code is done. So let's see if it works. I'm going to hit my space bar. Boop. My LED is on. My rotation servo is there. It is running. And I saw that my position servos went right away. I think that's because I was shading it with my hand when it first went. So now every time I shade that light sensor with my hand, it makes my position servos go to 0 degrees for 5 seconds. And then it checks for data again, and if nothing's blocking the light, they set back up there. Here's another really cool feature that I like in Snap. Snap has this little step-by-step feature up at the top. And if I click on that, it will show me which parts of the code are running at a given moment, which is so cool. I can see it reading my code. So here, I'm going to go ahead and hit the stop sign there. And so now if I start this from the beginning, I'm going to hit my space bar. You can see it turn the light on and set that rotation servo to 10% while it's reading the code. Let me show you one more time. Stop there. Okay, space bar, and it's going to go. There we go. And now we're stuck in this forever loop where it's checking for data. So it's checking for data right here. And because the light sensor is not reading less than 30, it's reading the bottom part. But when I block the light sensor, now it read that as, yes, it is less than 30. So it's going to 0 degrees. It's waiting for 5 seconds. And because I'm still blocking it, it did it again. Now it's going to check for data again, and it's not blocking it anymore. So now it's running the bottom part. This is a really cool feature of Snap, and some other Bluetooth languages have this as well. I think it's really useful for kids to be able to see which parts of the code are running while the robot is running itself so that they can really understand what's going on there in the background. So now I'm going to go ahead and stop this here. We've seen this in isolation here with just the pieces and parts. Let's go check this out again in context. And to do that, I'm going to cut to our behind the scenes camera again so we can take a closer look. So now you can see what the side of the studio looks like. Hi, Manjean. She's sitting over there. I'm going to come walk over this way. And so now I'll even come around the back here and we can look inside. Here's our position servos. Now this one actually has 3 position servos. I just programmed 2. And they're waiting here. They're all sort of tangled up there. We've got our rotation servo spinning that is mounted in the top of this piece of cardboard. You can kind of see it sticking through from the front and then sticking out the back right there. There's our hummingbird kit right there. It's reading some numbers. I'm not sure what they are actually, but just so that I don't chop my finger off, I'm going to stop my rotation servo running a second. And then we can come around here and see the LED and the light sensor. So scooch you out of the way. Scooch. There we go. So here's the LED, and it's pointing directly at the light sensor. You see that little dot right there? That's the light sensor. And the beam of the LED is pointing right at that light sensor. And so when I block the beam of the LED from getting to the light sensor, that's when the motors come out, like so. So now you know exactly how to build a code for something that looks like our windmill here. There you have it. But that's just one example of what a robot mini golf obstacle might look like. Our teachers in our course created way cooler examples, and I'd love to show you a couple of them. Check these out. All right, we've got, this first one is from Stacy Wilson in Newport News, Virginia. Check this one out, everybody. This one, she called it a pot of gold. We can see we've got a rainbow here, and we've got a red LED probably pointed at a light sensor. And when something goes in, the rainbow is actually what's blocking and unblocking the hole. And then the leprechaun does a little dance. How great is that? Feel free to tell us what you think of these projects as we're showing them here in the chat. I got a couple more for you. This one is really cool, but I have to say the name is one of the best parts. This one is Take a Crack at the Kraken. So you can see it's got little, what are those? Tentacles, thank you. And then when you get it in there, he does a turn so that you can better admire him. We love Take a Crack at the Kraken. Okay, for any of you video game nerds out there, check out this Mario one. This is from Laura DeSenza in Milford, Connecticut. There's Mario. He goes right up at the top there. Love that. Also, love that she's just got an elbow bracket tube just ready to go. Love that for you, Laura. Okay. Oh, I'm going to save that one for last because it's my favorite one. Okay. So here's this one is from Jessica Smith celebrating the Euro Cup. Jessica Smith in Apex, North Carolina. Trying to save the ball, but it didn't work, so I'm going to play that one more time. If you get it past the goalie there, then not only were there some lights, but let me play it one more time so you can hear the song. Listen really closely. Ready? Awesome. You know, whatever you or your students are interested in, there's a Hummingbird project for it, or there's a version of it that you can absolutely do. Okay, here's my favorite one. This one is from Sierra Williams in Salzburg, Pennsylvania. And I know you're not supposed to have favorites, but just look at this, you guys.
Timber!
Did you hear that? It said timber, and then the tree fell down.
Timber!
Oh my gosh, I love teachers. I love how strange and wonderful and creative all of you are. I'm seeing Sarah says, so creative. Eileen says, true STEM teachers, love it. These are adorable, says Becky. Absolutely. So as you saw, there were a bunch of different little connections that teachers made with this project. We kind of gave the idea of a mini golf course, but these teachers took it in so many different directions. And that was really one of the big emphasis as we were talking about project-based learning. So let's first talk about content areas, because content area connections is part of what PBL is all about. Like, you're not just doing this in STEM class, you're also teaching math skills, you're teaching science, ELA skills, you're making this 7 Wonders of the World theme. So let's start with content connections. What kind of content connections could you make with a robot mini golf course? Maybe with math standards that you're teaching. Could you put a social studies mask on the top of this? Is there a business class connection? But how could robot mini golf be connected to other content areas? Go ahead and put your suggestions in the chat. No bad ideas in a brainstorm. Blue sky thinking. Let's pretend that we are a team of teachers and that anything is possible. What sort of content connections could we do as a team of teachers if we all decided we were going to put our minds to this? And as you guys are thinking and typing, One idea that some teachers had during the course was a social studies connection where whatever period of history they're studying in social studies, each of the mini golf course holes has to teach the player something about it. So if we were doing a civil rights unit, each of them would be something that happened during the civil rights. Or if we were doing an ancient Egypt unit, they'd all have to be like landmarks from ancient Egypt. But let's see what ideas you guys have. Eileen says it could be a geography theme. They could learn some map skills. Yeah, you know, we could even put that with our compass rose over here and be like, all right, after hole number 1, to find hole number 2, you need to orient yourself 130 degrees and then walk that way to figure out what order to play the holes in. There you go. Geography is a good one, says Amanda Jean. I like it. Zena says art, principles of design. They might have to talk about balance, contrast, repetition, emphasis, proportion, unity, movement. Hey, art teachers, what's up? I mean, I bet you're seeing this when you just look at like a craft project that moves. So many artistic connections. And actually, that's my favorite thing about using a hummingbird kit is whenever you're making something with a hummingbird kit, you're making art. And it might be mathy art or social studies art or English art or whatever it is. And art is just something that humans have been doing. It's just something that is part of our DNA. I told you I was reading this book about ancient humans. Some of the oldest evidence we have for humans is through our art. So I love that you can very authentically and very quickly make some great art connections with computer science when you're using a hummingbird kit. And then put that in any other content area. Okay, my last PBL question for you. When we talk about project-based learning, one of the big emphases of it is that they're not just doing it for a grade. They're doing it for someone or something real. And they talk about an authentic audience. So who could play robot mini golf? Let's brainstorm as a team. Who could play robot mini golf? And I'll read out some more things that have been coming in the chat. Sarah says, I'm a librarian. I always have the teachers bring me the content that they'd like to cover, and I create the lesson to go with the content. The Hummingbird Kit is wide open for any content that needs to be learned. The kids will get into the project and they will remember it. Yeah, you know, tell me and I forget. Let me do it and I remember. Let me make a robot about it. That'll be the highlight of their school year. They'll remember that. They'll look forward to it in 3rd grade and 4th grade, and then they get to do it in 5th grade. And then, what was your favorite part of my elementary school? Oh, the robot mini golf course. You remember stuff like that, right? But what do you think about an authentic audience? Who could play robot mini golf? If you've got a class of kids that created a robot mini golf course, who could come and play it? Maybe you set it up in the library, or you set it up in the entryway to the school. Let's see, Zena says students at a school science fair or a STEM festival or fundraiser. Absolutely. At a back to school night. Maybe this is your final project that you do at the end of the school year, and then they play it when they come back for back to school nights when they come back, or STEM nights, or even like winter concerts. Maybe you work with your choir teacher and you learn like what kind of music are they doing, and could we create a robot mini golf course that would go with that? Play mini golf on your way into the concert. Yeah, absolutely. Another idea that folks had during the course was setting it up for indoor recess. So depending on where you are in the country, January, February, and March can be really difficult times of the year to get outside for recess. So maybe you set it up in the library and people can sign up to come to the library during indoor recess and come play. Let's see, Sarah says, middle schoolers would love this. Other students could come, elementary classes could come play, special needs classes could come play. Absolutely. You know, we worked in one district with the Pocono Mountain School District, and they had their special needs students, their life skills classes in high school, design robots that other kids then came and played. So totally, you could create something that your life skills class come and plays, or hey, your life skills class could complete this. I think hearing about that example, I know for me, really opens up my mind. Robotics is for everybody. CS is for all, as they say. And so thinking about who we start with, who is the best messenger for that message of CS is for all. I bet you've got some great messengers for that in your school. Awesome. Well, let's talk about one other thing that CodeJoy does. We do these things we call student shows. And they're pretty unique. Nobody else really does anything like this. So for teachers, when we do professional development, we have the tool, whatever it is. You have the tool, you tune in, we're teaching you how to use the tool, how to teach with the tool. But in student sessions, we recognize that robotics and robots, they're sort of a limited resource in a school. You probably don't have enough microbits to give every single fourth grader across your entire district a microbit all at once. Maybe you do, awesome, but maybe you don't. So if robots are a limited resource, and if you, the teacher who knows how to teach the robot, if you are also a limited resource, how can we do computer science and robotics across an entire district? Well, that's where these CodeJoy student shows come in. So in CodeJoy student shows, kids log in with their teacher, usually from their own classrooms. The kids have a Chromebook or a computer or even an iPad, and the teacher will usually put the video up on the projector at the front of the classroom. The kids log in, we teach them how to code, and they don't need a robot because their code controls our robots. So just to give you an example of what these look like and feel like, think Sesame Street. Think Mr. Rogers, think the Muppets, things like that. And let me give you a quick 90-second look at what CodeJoy student shows are like. Hello, I'm so glad you're here. Today, we are going to be learning about some coding and robotics, and you, from wherever you are, you're going to get to control our robots live. We're gonna play some mini golf. You guys are going to help us program the obstacles, and a couple of you are even going to golf live. That's amazing!
Now we've got some code here from Hannah that I'd like to take a look at.
All right, Hannah, here's what your code looks like. So we wanted to be sure that you had a quick preview of what those CodeJoy student shows are like, because we offer free shows throughout the school year. So keep an eye on your inbox, because we'd love to invite you and your whole class of students to join us for some of those upcoming shows. We've got 9 different episodes, things like Robot Mini Golf, which you just saw, Robot Aerobics, which is all about dance, Robot Romeo, which is all about Shakespeare, Robot Memories, etc., etc. And we've even got a new one that we're unveiling this year called Robot Garden. Now, we haven't actually made the show yet, so that's kind of all there is to it. The name, Robot Garden. Doesn't that sound fun? Yeah, so be sure to sign up for our newsletter so that you can see what the show actually is once we actually create it. And one of the coolest uses that we've seen for those student shows is, especially when we're working with a large district or a medium-sized district, or we're working with a regional service organization, a CSTA chapter, somebody with a lending library. For example, we worked with this group called ABC Create. ABC Create served 25 different school districts. They had this awesome lending library, and they offered free professional development. But especially since the pandemic, they were really struggling to get teachers to participate in their professional development. So what we did is we offered student shows to the teachers within that district. Now, they were getting about 50 PD signups per year, and a lot of those were actually the same, 15 or 20 people who were coming back to the PDs over and over again. And across 25 districts, 20 people is not that many people, right? So we offered these student shows a week at a time, and teachers, the teachers who were coming to the PDs, they could sign up, and they could also share them with all the other teachers in their district. And so then we used those student shows to promote some upcoming virtual professional development. And in the course of a single year, they saw their PD enrollment numbers move from 50 teachers signing up each year to over 300 teachers signing up or 300 registrations, which was about 200 teachers signing up for these professional development sessions. So it was a really successful program, and it got a lot more teachers trying things out, seeing the possibilities, and opting in to do professional development. So if you're part of an organization where you'd like to see more teachers join or join in, those student sessions can be a really powerful tool for future teacher engagement, which then they can take back to their classrooms. All right, so let's talk about our final course that we're teaching this summer, which is Practical AI for Educators. So in our first session of Practical AI, we focused more on text generation, and we talked about prompt engineering. And last week, that's a little bit what we talked about. We talked about prompt engineering. Now, in our session B of AI for Educators, we really focused more on image generation and the importance of images. So we did a little activity to start us off, which I thought was kind of interesting. So we're going to use this as just sort of like an activation moment. So if you're nearby your computers, come on back. We're going to have you type some things in the chat. I'm going to show you a picture, and these pictures are real to begin with. Take a look at some of these pictures and tell us how you think some of these images were created. So here's our first image. This is from a place in Argentina called Cueva de los Manos, which means cave of the hands or hand cave. And this is real. And I wonder, how do you think this was created? And how does it make you feel? So let us know in the chat. This is a real place that was really created by ancient humans between the oldest hands that they see and the oldest radiocarbon dating puts it at 7300 BC to about 700 AD. So this was used over the course of about 8,000 years. So what do you think? How was this image created? And how does it make you feel? Meg says, kind of looks like spray paint. You know, you're not too far off. Maybe hand cutouts, clay somehow. Maybe they use some natural mineral pigments, says Zena. Reminds you of solar paper. Oh, that's interesting. Scott went a little dark. Scott says severed hands. As far as we know, these hands were still attached to the people who made it. But Scott had guessed spray paint, and Meg had guessed spray paint. Zena had guessed natural mineral pigments. You're all right. So the way that ancient humans created this is that they mixed together some minerals, some like reddish minerals, with some water that they found in like puddles in the cave. And then they made a paint, and then they loaded that paint into bone straws, basically. And then they put their hand up like this, and then went, and that's how they created it. So they used paint and rock and human hands, basically. Now I'm going to bring this image back up, and I'd love to know, how does this image make you feel, especially now that you know the history of it? How does this image make you feel? And Marianne had a great question. Why did they create this piece? That's an awesome question. And to be honest, we don't really know. We don't know if this was just for elders who killed a cougar and got to put their hand on the wall, or if this was something that families would do together, or if this was a rite of passage. We don't really know, but let's just think about how this image makes us feel. Because it doesn't make you feel nothing, does it? Lindsay says, it makes me feel like they wanted future people to know they had been there. Maybe it's like a family memory wall. Maybe. This is an ancient version of Kelsey was here. Melissa says, we still do this with our families. Yeah, you might use clay and put your baby's hand or put your baby's feet in some clay and make a Christmas ornament out of it. Marianne says it makes her think of some footage of battles with the Tutsis in Africa and people scrambling to get out. Yeah. Maybe it's a community or family event. Zena says it paints a narrative of human connections in a time before writing. You know, that's what it makes me feel too. And do you notice which way the thumbs are painting in this or pointing in this? Take a look at some of these hands. Which way are the thumbs pointing? Because I notice, and archaeologists have noticed, that most of these are left hands. And if you notice how I just went and did this myself, I'm right-handed. So I would hold the straw in my right hand and I'd put my left hand up and I'd go. So even before these people were writing, they were right-handed, just like me. So when I look at that image, it makes me feel very strongly connected to people 8,000 years ago on a different continent. It's interesting, isn't it? Again, we don't really know the story behind it. That's been lost, but we know that people were there for sure, and that they were probably right-handed, which is kind of cool. All right, let's take a look at another one. How about this image? This is a portrait of George Washington, painted by one Mr. Gilbert Stuart Williamstown. This was painted in about 1803. How do you think this was created, or what materials were used to create it? Erica says it's an oil painting. Yeah, oils, I think so. I think this is an oil painting. Any other materials that they used to create this image? Oil painting. Canvas, says Erica. Yeah, oil painting on a canvas, absolutely. What about feeling? How does this image make you feel? And we could talk about, how did the artist want to make you feel? Or how does it make you feel? But what does this make you feel? Keeping in mind that, you know, we're Americans. This guy was the first president of America. Yeah, for some people, it's bringing up a little bit of sadness. It harkens to when our country was first established and what the ideals were that we were pursuing, and perhaps we compare how far we've come in achieving those ideals, and we feel a bit sad about it. Meg says, people in power can't express emotion. That's an interesting one. You know, I looked into a little bit of the history of portraiture of George Washington, and evidently he kind of hated sitting for portraits when he was a younger man. But as he got older, he was like, well, I guess I'm important, so I'll sit here. Zena says he has kind of the tired teacher look down. Yeah, if you notice the slant of his eyes there, he's facing this direction. He's not looking like this, right? He's not taller than you are, or he's not shorter than you are. He's taller than you are. His eyes look down. It connotes a certain level of power. He's not doing a crazy dance move. He is sitting and looking at you, right? He's got there is something being expressed there, and maybe that makes you feel patriotic, right? It might be, it could make us feel all sorts of different things, but it definitely makes you feel something. All right, one more, just because this is interesting. Hi, Roseanne. Roseanne feels nervous about George Washington. No. All right, one more. This is a picture titled Tank Man. How was this created? And what does it make you feel? This is from Tiananmen Square in China in 1989. It was taken by a member of the Associated Press. How was this image created? And what does it make you feel? Now, Marianne is starting to bring AI into the conversation. Now, some folks claim that this image isn't real. And, but we can prove that it was real in a number of different ways, including the fact that a bunch of people took a very, very similar picture from a bunch of different angles. So as far as we know, it happened, right? It's been refuted, but it's been refuted by certain people who don't want you to see this image. It was broadcast live at the time. Yeah, if any of us were alive in 1989, I just got here in 1989, so I don't remember it. But that was the year I was born. But some of you can remember this. So I will tell you, we'll assume that this is a real photograph. It was, I remember before 1980, yeah. This was from 1989, so this is photography. This was taken by a member of the Associated Press. But what does it make you feel when you look at this? It's not nothing, right? Marianne says, it makes me feel a lot of emotions, including horror and disgust. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a difference in power. One of the most interesting parts of this picture to me is that the thing the man is holding in his hand is a shopping bag. He didn't go out today looking to do this, right? He went out to do his shopping. Eileen feels worried. The reason I bring these up, and I get a little emotional, is because images are powerful. They make you feel something, don't they? Right? We started with images, we learned how to write words, but images just speak to something deep in our core. And as we look at those different examples, images also speak to the nature of power as well. Who do we get images of? Now, there's a lot of oil paintings on canvas of dead white guys. Because when oil pictures on canvas were being created, who had the power? It was white dudes, right? There are way fewer oil images on canvas of women and people of color and poor people, because that's not how those resources were being used, right? But if we think about that oil on canvas as well, who had the power to create an image like that? Not me. I didn't go to art school. I don't have the power to create that image. I can't draw that, let alone paint it, right? So who had the power to commission these things? Who had the power to make them? But as we start to look at that image from Tiananmen Square, that was someone who probably studied photography and journalism, right? But nobody commissioned necessarily that particular photo. That photo was taken without permission. In fact, if you ask the government of China, it didn't happen. And in fact, on the 32nd anniversary of when that picture was taken, some search engines would not return that picture in their search results. Images are power. And now, with AI, that power is widely distributed. Because not only do we all get to decide what we want a picture of, you don't have to have been there to get a picture of it, right? Not only do you not have to study it, we can create an image in about 5 seconds using technology, using better and better and better technology. So why do we talk about AI images? Why is it worth talking about this with our students? Because images are power. And who gets to wield it and how they wield it and for what purpose, those are all highly important questions that have to do something with social studies, history, English, etc. So to lighten the mood a little bit, we did a super fun AI activity in our session B here. We had teachers create a coloring page based on a certain theme. So they used an AI image generation tool of their choosing to create a coloring page. Now, we'll put a link to links to a few different AI image generators in the chat. So if you want to try this right now, go for it. Some of these you don't even have to sign up for at all. All of them are free. So certainly test this out as we go here. But here was the activity we did. We had teachers create an AI image. It had to be of a coloring page, so something that people would want to color in. It had to include realistic elements, so like no unicorns, no fairies. If we did food, it had to be a food that existed, you know, like it couldn't be like a strawberry nana. It had to be like a strawberry or a banana, something real. It had to be blank, as in not colored in at all. And it had to have both biotic and abiotic features, meaning living features and non-living features as well. So for example, people and animals and trees, living features, but clothing, tables, rocks, bicycles, non-living features, stuff like that. So it had to include realistic elements, not be colored in, and have biotic and abiotic features. And their constraints are that they only had about 10 minutes to do it. And some of these AI tools, they have token limits, meaning that you can only ask for a certain number of images a day or a week. So let's do this together. I'm going to start out by putting a prompt in there, and then I'm going to ask you guys to help me refine this prompt to get something that fits our criteria here. So I'm going to use ideogram, which a lot of teachers like, although feel free to use any of the ones that are in the chat there, and feel free to do this right along with us. And if you end up creating a coloring page, you can put an image of it in the chat. But I'm going to start out. We're going to have it create a coloring page of a scene from nature, okay? Please create a coloring page of a Scene from nature. Okay, so I'm just going to hit enter. I'm going to have a really general prompt there, and let's see what it creates. Now, image generation takes a little longer than text generation because a picture is worth 1,000 words and a lot more ones and zeros. So one of the things that I like about some of these tools is that they give you a countdown for how long it's going to take to create this image. So here we go. Here's what it created. Let's take a closer look at some of these here. So here's one. Let's see if it meets our criteria. Okay, does it include realistic elements? That seems to be a rose. Those kind of look like real flowers, sure. Okay, I don't know if that's a real bird or not. I don't know enough about birds, but this looks pretty plausible. Is it blank? No, it has colored it in. So we're going to have to refine our prompt. And if you've got an idea for what could we add to our prompt or change about our prompt to get it to be blank, put that in the chat. All right. And does it have biotic and abiotic features? It's got water, which is not technically alive. So yeah, and then it's got plants and stuff. But how can we refine this prompt to get us something better? Let's see a couple of these other ones that it created here. Tell you what, they are all very similar in that they are all colored in. But maybe this will give us some ideas about what we might want to include. Maybe we want a little house in there. That's kind of nice. Let's look at this one here. Oh, check out this bird nest, y'all. Whoa, that's not very realistic, is it? Okay, and then what's this final one here? Oh boy, wow, that's cool. Hey, maybe we should include an animal in there too. I think this one's some sort of a cat, and this one's a cat. I don't know what happened to this guy's nose, though. I don't think that's it. Whatever it is. Okay, so what else could we do? Let's try to get it to create a black and white image. So let's see what you guys have said in the chat. Remove all non-black and white color, black and white sketch, ask for a black and white image. Okay, Zena is recommending Canva. A lot of teachers really like Canva. We got a lot of great pictures from Canva. Okay, create a coloring page of a scene from nature. Please make it black and white only. No color at all. Actually, I like how this person typed that. They said, please remove any color other than black and white. Please remove any color other than black and white. Okay, so great. Boom. Let's see what we get. And again, takes a couple seconds. Yeah, somebody else commented that some of those biotic features looked really huge. Yeah, there was a huge bird's nest in one of them, and some of those cats were bigger than the trees, which cats think they're bigger than trees, but they are not. Okay. Ooh, all right. We're getting closer here. We're getting closer here. Check this out. Okay, well, that animal is certainly not real, but it's not colored in. So that's something. Okay. Is that a mushroom? I don't know. Is this a buffalo with a spade head? I don't know, but we're getting closer. Are those birds? I don't know. Again, we're getting closer. All right. Here's one. Here's another one. Okay. This seems more reasonable. All right. All right. Let's see. This one's got something like a bridge in it. Okay. Not unreasonable. Now check out this one. This one is also only black and white. But when we think about what would make a good coloring page, this one's not a great coloring page, right? Because it's kind of got too many details. So I'm going to refine our prompt to ask for fewer details, but let's also give it like a subject because it's definitely like grasping at straws. A scene from nature is pretty general. Oh, I like that one. Meg O says non-photograph. I'll put that one in there, but give me some subjects. What is a subject that we could have in here? Because it's really grasping at straws here. So let me zoom back out. Let me get some more suggestions from the page. I'm going to say, what was it? Non-photograph. Okay. Early American history, the Great Kapok Tree. I don't know what that is, but it sounds cool. A dog. I like a dog. Let's do a dog. Well, it's a scene from nature, so put a wolf in it. How about a wolf? Yeah. Put a wolf in it. Standing by a stream, maybe. By a stream. Ooh, not by. Ugh, typing in front of adults is so stressful. Okay, standing by a stream, put it up against a pretty landscape. Don't have too many details or lines. Okay, great. Let's see what it gives us now. We've given it a lot more specific things that we're looking for. And if we refer back to what we learned about prompt engineering last time, giving it a more specific prompt will certainly give us a better outcome, because really, what is AI doing? It's not actually thinking, right? It's not it doesn't have feelings, it doesn't have morals, it doesn't believe in right or wrong, anything like that. What it's doing is it's trying to give you what you want. You may want something immoral. You may want something inaccurate, right? But all it's doing is it's trying to give you what you want. And so it's just kind of like guessing. It's kind of like that game that they would play on Whose Line Is It Anyway, where they would go like one word at a time, right? So it's just trying to guess the next right thing. So it's trying to guess what we're looking for. So let's see, is this what we're looking for now? Dude, that looks pretty good. It's got biotic features. It's got some living things. It's got abiotic features. It's got a stream. It's not too busy. Okay. This one's pretty cool as well. Very similar. It's got a few more lines. I think it would just be up to someone's opinion, perhaps, which one is better. This one's also pretty rad. This one's a little harder to tell where one thing ends and another one begins. Okay, this one's probably too many lines because I want to color it in. I don't want this to color it in. But like, hey, by refining our prompt a few different times, we've got a pretty good image here that meets our criteria. If we follow this one here, it's got realistic elements. That looks pretty much like a wolf, like a tree, like a pine tree, like a mountain. It's blank. It's not colored in. It's got biotic and abiotic features, and we did it in a very short amount of time. So a lot of teachers, when it comes to AI, they worry that this is going to ruin students' creativity, that it's going to ruin their critical thinking skills, that it's going to ruin their communication skills. It's not ruining them necessarily. As you just saw, we're still communicating, we're still thinking creatively, we are still analyzing, comparing, contrasting, creating, exploring. We're doing those higher order thinking skills. It just looks a little different with AI. Teacher said the same thing about the internet in the 90s, and here we are. Still pretty creative, right? Awesome. Okay, so by the way, the teachers would then vote on their images, and if you guys happened to create any of your own images, feel free to put those in the chat. You can take a screenshot of them or upload a file in the chat if you'd like. But each group voted on the best one, and from our last class, this was the winner. Our winner was Jessie Estlow, who had their prompt was a coloring sheet depicting people helping people. This was created earlier this week. So by refining her prompt over and over again, she got a young woman helping an elderly person figure out their computer, which is pretty cool. So all of these different activities have been linked in your resource document here. So feel free to upload yours. The Padlet is there too. You can put some of your images in there if you'd like. And check out that activity and perhaps even use something like that in your classes this year. Now, that is the end of our projects that we're going to do today. So we're here to just kind of open it up for Q&A, questions and answers if you'd like. If you guys want to ask us anything, feel free. If you want to brainstorm about anything, feel free. Lindsay looks like created a couple of images, so I'd love to see what she created. Oh, look at this. Look at that. What a happy little dog. I would rather color this one. Looks like Roseanne. Roseanne, she made a coloring page of you. Hooray! Roseanne's like, I'm confused but excited. So if you guys have any questions, thoughts, observations, things like that, feel free to put those in the chat here. We'll have Amanda Jean chill out in here collecting some questions. But one of the questions that we got from folks last week was to see a little bit more of our studio. We had given folks a tour of this particular room last week, but we've got more studio than just this room. So we thought we'd take you on a little more behind the scenes tour to check out the office this time, because we have an office now, which is pretty cool. So I'm going to invite Matt to, Matt, do you want to give the tour or be the cameraman? All right, Matt's going to be the cameraman. So I'm going to go to our behind the scenes camera here in 3, 2, 1, boom. All right, let me show you the office. So this is our CodeJoy studio here. We've got this lovely grid that Matt and our contractors built here. Woohoo, very cool, very nice. And we're gonna come around this way. We're gonna walk out through the tech booth, and we might see some friends of CodeJoy here. We've got some folks in town on this beautiful Friday. So if you see strangers, they're not strangers, they're friends. Here's our tech booth here with our very fancy soundboard. I know 2% of what that does. What percentage of that soundboard do you understand, Matt?
I'm probably up to about 40%.
Whoa.
So much to do.
Oh, Joanne was wondering, do we know if Infosys will be sponsoring a Donors Choose match this year? You know, we did learn about that, and they are not able to sponsor Donors Choose again this year, unfortunately. Not too many folks took advantage of it last year. I think you did. Not too many folks took advantage of it. But you know what? We can include on the resource document, if you are familiar with Donors Choose, or even if you're not, we created a document last summer about how to use Donors Choose funding to purchase supplies, Hummingbird kits, microbits, even CodeJoy student shows and professional development through Donors Choose. So we'll go ahead and post that in the resource document as well right after this. So when this gets emailed to you, you'll have that information if you want to check that out. But let's go see the office really quick. All right. Yeah. You got to mute so we don't get. But I'll kind of. We have a really amazing place to work, which is so cool. We've got a comfy couch. We have windows, which I'm so excited about. Side, we have friends. Hi, friends. Hi, Scott. Hi, Jason. We've even got a workshop, which I'll walk over there. I won't talk very much because my audio will cut out, but check out our makerspace. We're actually making organization systems for this space right now. For this. So it's been really, really exciting. CodeJoy from a little garage startup company and turning it into a place where now people can come and visit and work and learn and make stuff. And we're not tripping over each other anymore. It's very fun and exciting. So we've not only got our CodeJoy studio here, but we've got our office as well. And perhaps for our final summer skill builder, we'll take a tour of our other studio that we're building as well. There's a little less to see there, but there's a lot of possibilities. So tune in next week and we'll take a tour of our new studio. All right, so checking in on the chat here. What do we have?
Kelsey, we had some questions about like what's available on YouTube and what isn't.
Oh.
And I also thought it was a great opportunity to talk about the asynchronous courses coming up too.
Perfect. Amanda Jean, such a good wing woman. We love that. So the Microbit in the Wild course and our AI course will be available on the Infosys website this fall for anybody to watch. So rather than posting 3-hour-long videos, which some of you may enjoy watching, but personally I don't, especially when it's me. We're going to be basically chopping up our 9 hours of content down into some smaller, more digestible videos. So like 5-minute videos, 10-minute videos, where then you have an opportunity to go do that thing yourself. We'll cover all of the activities and projects, all of those nice Explorer connections that we had for both that Microbit in the Wild course and the AI course. We're going to be filming those videos in August. Infosys takes about a month to put those up on their course. So hopefully those will be available in about October. And the AI course will be free and open to anybody. So if you are curious about what we did in that AI course, what we're doing in it, you can take the AI version of, or the asynchronous version of it in the fall. And then the microbit one actually comes with some hardware. So the first 300 teachers to register for that Microbit in the Wild asynchronous video course will actually get 2 microbits sent to them wherever they are in the US. And that's open to public school teachers, public charter school teachers, and public library professionals as well. So if you know anybody like that, especially if you're like, well, I've got these 10 microbits, but I'd love 20 more, get 10 of your friends to sign up for that asynchronous course and we'll ship you 2 microbits per person. I know, Melissa, it is such an exciting opportunity. Unfortunately, we're not going to be putting the robot mini golf course on the Infosys site. So that one won't be available outside of our live learning this summer. However, BirdBrain Technologies has a PD video course on their website. I wonder if Amanda Jean can find that. Thank you. And she'll link it here in the chat. So if you want to check out a video course of, it's not the robot mini golf professional development. It's just sort of like an intro to Hummingbird. We've got a version for Snap, one for MakeCode, one for Bird Blocks. I think those are the 3. We made those while we worked for BirdBrain many years ago. So they will look very familiar. They use a Sense, Think, Act piece of cardboard. My hair changes lengths throughout. Matt's beard gets longer and shorter, but it's me and Matt teaching you again. Do you have to be a Title I school to participate, says Meg? Nope, just a public school or public charter school. So I know we have a lot of friends who joined from the Harmony Public Charter School down in Texas. They're eligible, not necessarily Title I schools, but they're charter schools, but they're public charter schools, or any public school or any public library as well. Yeah. What about board members of charter schools? Well, I believe that when it comes to the asynchronous course, you know, I think I misspoke. I think when it comes to the asynchronous courses, anybody can sign up. I don't even think they have to be a public school teacher. I think your wife who's an engineer can sign up. So I think anybody can sign up for to take those courses. I think in order to get the free materials, that's when you have to be a public charter or public library person. Plus, I believe administrators and like STEM teachers or tech coordinators, I believe they're eligible as well. You'll want to check when it officially gets posted, and they might change things up, but I think those were the rules, at least for Pathfinders this year. So yeah, great question. Let's see, any other questions coming in? Feel free to put them in the chat if you'd like. Oh, Marianne made an AI image on Ideogram. Oh, check this out, Marianne, this is great. What a scene from nature. We've got biotic features like turtles, fishes, and kelps. Oh, and there's even a spot to put your name. Boom, it's ready for the classroom. Plus, we've got abiotic features like water and this sort of only slightly wonky anchor. And oh, and a treasure chest with a potato in it. That's my greatest treasure. Potatoes. And a two-way fish, a push me, pull you fish. I love it. This is ocean in the land of Oz. We're here for it. Yeah, the two-way fish gets me. Gotta love that AI. It's great. Well, thank you so much for joining us for our Summer Skill Builder Series number 3, everybody. So from me and Amanda Jean and Matt and Roseanne, we want to say thanks to all of you for joining us today, and we will see you next Friday for our final Skill Builder. Thanks, everybody. See you next time.